Welcome to working with Photoshop and creating the illusion of water on the surface, on the background surface here. So here I've simply just got a simple background. You can make up any background you like. Ideally it has a bit of texture just to help you pick up and displace the background when you want to create the water effect. Because that's what we're going to do. We're going to create this water effect easily using a displacement map. So if I take from the background here, I'm just going to go to the finish file. Just click on that. Let's reduce that down just a little bit. And basically we've just got a water effect on the surface. So what I'm going to do is just create the illusion of that by using, if I go to the channels on the right hand side here, some alpha channels, and then we save it off as a slightly blurred displacement map to be brought back in as a filter. And so we do a lot of the work for us in creating the illusion of distorting the edges, sort of a refraction, if you will, of the glass type effect. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to go back to the original image here and just take you through that process. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create my map or my graphic. Now I can bring anything in from, particularly if you want, say, a very crystal glass type feel, it could be an actual logo, or you could bring a logo in and distort it with some of the filters just to give it a sort of more of a watery sort of feel. But what I'm going to do is something very simple. I'm just going to create my graphic directly in my channels here. Okay, so here's my layer, nothing here. I'm just going to go to a channel and I'm going to add in a new channel just by clicking down on the plus down here for the new graphic. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very quickly just go through and making sure I've got white. I'm going to go to my brushes. I actually want a hard edge brush here, so I'm just going to go back up here and make sure the hardness is right on, and I'm just going to just reduce the size of my brush here a little bit. So I'm just going to do something really, really simple. The other thing I've got here, just so I can get thicker and thinner with the airbrush, and also just the graphic here turned on in order to actually get variation of stroke, but I haven't got my flow turned on. I really need quite a sort of solid white, if you will. So anyway, I'm just going to add in just my graphic. I'm just going to really quickly and loosely, just to show you how quickly you can do this, just create a graphic that I want to put together. Okay, so I can go thin. I'm using a Wacom tablet. By the way, you also notice that I'm just putting a few water droplets out the side here just to add to the effect. But ideally you want to just keep this as really quite a solid white, so just keep off the flow at 100%. And just better get a T here. Okay, and I want it to be reasonably chunky because it adds to the effect a little bit, but a bit of variation, so you get, you know, a watery sort of uneven sort of feel to the process. Okay, now I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I just want to show you how quickly and how easy this is to do, and just a couple more drops and I think that'll do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to label and hit the return key or enter key on a PC. This is my first alpha channel. What I want to do now is I want to go and create a displacement map, but I don't want it to be so hard. I know I said stay with the hard brush, but this is an advantage because we're going to tighten the whole graphic up shortly. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate this layer, drag it into the new layers or new channels icon, and I'm going to call this wet blur. And just hit the return key. Now I need to load this, and I can only do it through a displacement map as an external source. So when you actually add with this selected, if you want to duplicate like we just did, I dragged my wet channel down into the new layers and it just simply duplicated it. You can also do that up there while I've got this selected, and if I click on here, it's just out of view, but I've got duplicate channel, so you can't see it here, but that's what it is doing. But if I use this navigation, or actually through the menu, and click on that, I actually get an extra effect, or an extra ability. That is, I don't want to just create another channel. Oops, I'll just call it wet blur, which it was anyway. Better spell that correctly. And but I want to take it to new because I'm going to bring it in. Okay, you can also invert things if you want to play around later on and see what sort of effects you can get. It's going to stay with this nice simple way of doing it first. So I'm going to go new, and I'm just going to call it, it can be called anything you like because I'm going to save this file out. I'll call it just simply wet blur. Okay, and I'll go OK. Now what this has done, as you'll notice, I've got an extra file up here. I've got my original file, the completed one, the new wet start we're on at the moment, but I've jumped to a new file here. Okay. Now one thing that I did mention is that I wanted to blur this first, and normally I would have just done that through here, and I'll just go to the filter and I'll come down to my blur, and I just want to go to a Gaussian blur. And actually I'm going to drag this up to about 5 would be probably just perfect. Or 4.5 will be fine. Okay. Now really that's what I should have done at first, and then save it off. But just to show you, I'm just going to do the same to this file. It doesn't matter where you do it, but because we don't actually need the one in the first file, we really want this file to work with. So I'm just going to go through to that and just Gaussian blur, and it's going to do just the same settings here. But of course, if you wanted to change that, just go through to blur and go to Gaussian again. Okay, maybe I'll just crank it up just a little bit more to, or 5.2. We'll see what that looks like. So that's great. Now I want to save this, so I'm just going to go File, Save. And I'm just going to save it to my folder that I'm working with. Make sure that you can easily navigate to pull it in later, and I'm just going to go Save. I'll just replace the one that I think I must have had there. So that's fine. I've got my graphic here, and I can actually close that now. I've saved it. Now, as I said, we don't really need this blurred version. I'm just going to turn it off, or actually go to the one above it, because this is the one that I'm going to need shortly. But I don't need it just yet. So anyway, let me show you what we're going to do here. This will be coming in to sharpen things up later. I'm going to go back to my layers. Now the first thing, I don't want to destroy my image here on my background, but I'm going to click on that just to highlight the layers. I just want to bring it into the background here. Now I can't actually highlight it as a background layer because working with alpha channels, you don't have any on a background flattened layer, which actually, in a way, that's quite safe working this way because I can't make a mistake. So I'm just going to duplicate this in the normal way and drag it down to duplicate my background, and as you can see that certainly is highlighted now, so I'll just call it black. Just make sure I've got that there. Background, and I'm just going to call it wet. This is where I'm going to load in a displacement map. Hit the return key. So I've got my highlighted background being the layer that I want, and this is the one that we're going to create a displacement map within. So how do you do that? I'm going to go up to my filters here, and I'm going to go to the filter gallery. Now in earlier versions of Photoshop you might notice that you'll have it probably under distort, and I think it's the glass effect in there, but within the newer versions, I think from CS6 upwards, this is Photoshop CC, but you'll get the photo or filter gallery. So I'm going to click on that. Now within the filter gallery, I've actually clicked on glass, which is exactly what I want, and you can actually see a glass effect coming in here. So I'm in glass at the moment, and I've got frosted, tiny lens. I've got a range of lenses and blocks and things like that, but it's not the one we want. We want to bring in our own displacement map, because this is what they are. It's displacing the surface. So simply to do that, I'm going to click on this little drop down menu, and I'm going to load the texture. Now the texture I wanted in this particular one was, I think I called it wet blur. So I'm going to load that texture, and you can see it just starting to come in here. I'll just Command minus just to reduce that down a little bit so you can see what's happening. It's bringing this graphic in, and I can actually play with the distortion to make it greater or less. But one thing I don't want you to do is I don't want you to scale it. If you scale it, you'll destroy the whole thing, okay? Because we'll take it beyond the 100%. We've already got our 100% sharpened file we're going to work with shortly. So I've got this at 18. Maybe I'll leave it at 18, see how it comes in like so, and I'm just going to go OK. And you see how you brought that refracted image there. Now, maybe it wasn't the best with the tiles I've got here. It really likes a bit of texture, and the more texture you've got, the better the effect you're actually going to get. Okay, so you can see how it's quite a bit nice there, that this is in the center. Nonetheless, we'll have a go with that. And it's also was using a softer edge, and it's a bit blurred around the edge. We're going to sort of sharpen it up now. Now, this is where I go back to my channels, okay? So I'm going to click on my channel, and I'm going to click onto my wet channel here. Now, I don't need to click on it. All I really want to do is basically make a selection. So I'll do it by just holding my command key, and you see you get this little masking selection that will come up and just load that selection. It'll load that alpha channel. But anyway, I'll just take you through the other way of doing it. I'm just going to click on that just so you see what we're getting. We're getting the hard one here. I can actually click here and load it so you can see how it's loaded. I didn't need to go through this process because now I need to go back into my layers in order to start highlighting the work again. And you can see how it's sort of sharpening things up on the edge here. Now, I don't want to load that, or I'm basically going to fill it with black, and I certainly don't want to do it on my background wet layer here. So I'm going to go down and load a new layer. With that layer, I'll just call it wet, so we know what's going on here. I'll just hit the return key. It's loaded. What I want to do is make sure that I'm on my default settings here. So I'm just going to turn that, make sure the black's on the top, and I'm just going to fill it with that. So I'm just going to go, the easiest way to fill it is just Option Delete, or Alt Delete on a PC, and I filled it with black now. I'm basically well on the way to doing all the stuff we need. I just need to deselect this now. So just select, deselect, or Command D, Control D on a PC. And it's deselected. So here's our graphic here. Now what I want to do just to sharpen up these edges is I'm just going to first of all drag this wet between the background layer and this new layer I've got, and then I'm going to clip it. Okay, now to clip it, you just bring your mouse or your graphic or your little finger hand tool just there, and if I just hold down, see if I hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt on a PC, and if I just click that, it's actually just sharpen that image. Now you might say that it's actually not looking that great yet, but this is where we need to add in just a few extra effects. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come down here making sure my wet layer, my graphic here is selected. Just to show you what's going on here, if I just turn off that graphic, you see how it's just clipped it. It's a clipping mask. Okay, so we just clip that edge, but I want to go down here and just add in some special effects. So I'll click here and I'm just going to go to my blending options. So my blending options are up here. Now the first one I'm going to click on is just drop shadow. Okay, so you can see how the drop shadow is just coming there. Like I might just drag while it's on here. I'll just go back to the move tool, and if it's not there, I'm on the hand tool at the moment. I'm just going to cancel once more, so I am on the move tool because you can actually move things around once you're going through this process. And with that, I'm just going to go back and click on my blending options again, and now onto drop shadow, and see how with it's selected here, if I select on the graphic itself, I can move it off. So that was a mistake I made. You make sure that you click on the menu that you want to use, because some of them don't allow you to move it on the fly. Now what I want you to do is just go through here, play with your drop shadow. You can change the color by multiply, you can change the size of it, spread it a little bit, distance. I am going to soften it down a bit just by doing the size here. It's a little bit better just to give it a bit of an effect. I'm going to go and add, I think I'm going to go and add an inner glow to it as well. Okay, and again I can, making sure I'm on the inner glow, I can actually play with the size and things a little bit. I might go to bevel and emboss, and with that I can just bring that in and also add to the size of that, just to bring it in like so. But as you can see, you've got a displacement sort of feel here, and all you need to do is play around until you get the right effect that you're after. Now I can do it from the edge, the source. I can choke it a bit. It's really just playing around until you get the right sort of look. Okay, now let's see what else. I'm just going to stay with these probably for the beginning. Just click on bevel and emboss. And one thing you can do if you want to reverse it, you're not happy, check on the down view. So you might find that that looks a little bit better, and I'm indeed a little bit happy with that as well. If I want to move the drop shadow down just a bit further, I might just do that. And basically I've got my effect now. So there's my sort of wet look with a sharpened edge just to give that sort of feel I was after. And I'm almost ready to go. So I've got all my effects and I've got my background on the top. Now I might want to go just a little bit further, so this is just a simple way to do it, no work really attached, just playing around until you're sort of happy with it. But if you want to add in a few more effects, which I might just add a little bit more into it at this stage, what I'm going to do is, for a start, I'm just going to save this, nothing worse than it crashing, and I'm just going to click on my arrow just to concertina that up, and I'm going to add in a new layer, okay? And I'll put that at the top. I'm just going to put, title that as highlight. So it's a highlight layer. So what I can do, again at any stage, because this is really quite non-destructive, I'm going to go back to my channel tools here, and I'm just going to highlight or load my selection rather, just Command or Control click on a PC, but Command click I'm on a Mac. Just load that selection, and what I'm going to do is just come back to my layers here, make sure I am on my highlight. I'm going to just go through now, and I'll just turn that to the white as the highlight here, and just going to go into my gradient tool, and I might just drop a gradient just over the top there, just into that selection. Now if I'm not happy with that, I might just do things like I add a little bit in here, or add a little bit in, or probably not the best there, maybe just there, and I'll just pick it up on the sides and on the bottom. I'm just actually picking up the area that way. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of load a full selection. I'll just do that once more. I'll just going to clear that for the moment. Just delete key, and I'm just going to do a full selection. I'm just going to drag it through, and I might want to go into something like just overlay here, just to sort of pick it up a little bit, and if it's a little bit too whitened out, I might even just drag it back a little bit, okay, just to give it a little bit more of a watery feel. So with that same selection, while the selection is selected, I'm also going to do something else. I'm just going to go and load a new layer here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this highlight 2. So I'll just call it, well actually I might call it highlight line, just to make sense. Okay, highlight line. Now what I'm going to do is I just want to put a little bit of a white highlight just in this layer a little bit, just inside. So what I'm going to do for a start is to go to, this is my select, I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to contract it. I'm going to contract it by about 10 pixels. So that's brought it in quite a bit here. I just want to put a bit of a zing of a highlight just on the edge. But so I don't run it too much into the file, I just want to put it a line as I've indicated here. So I'm going to go back to my select, back to modify, and I'm just going to go to border, and about 6 in terms of pixels. Width is just great, so I'll just go OK, and I'm just going to then go just under the select and modify it once more and just feather it by about 2 pixels. So remember, it's on its own layer. I'm just going to go to my paintbrush tool here, just a nice soft brush, and I'm just going to pick up just a little bit of a highlight around the edge. Now, just a little trick, I really can't see what I'm doing here. So if you just go Command H, you can hide the selection. Just remember that you need to turn it back on afterwards. So Command H, and it's hidden the selection, but it's still there. So I can just start picking up just a few lines where I want them through here. Okay, now I can take more time than doing that, but I'm just going to add in, really showing you the effects of doing that. And so I've sort of got just a bit of a highlight in there. Can just give it a bit of a zoom. Now again, I'm going to go Command H, and that's just showing that selection, and now I'm just going to deselect it. Okay, so just deselect, Command D, and it's deselected now. And I'm just going to go back and get my rubber key, just to rub out or erase just some of the edges. Might make it a bit smaller, just to make it a little bit softer on the edge here. So it's just a subtle thing that I've put in there just to help. Now certainly you can do more work and more finesse than I'm doing here, but really just want to show you the technique on how it works. And basically, without too much effort, I'll just save it once more, we've created our graphic here. We've got our special effects, and we've created our highlights and our background, all without any serious illustration skills, just a simple process of loading in our own unique displacement map. Enjoy.